Welcome, everybody, to the Bitchuation Room podcast. Notes from the sunken place. My name is Francesca Fiorentini. I am your host. I am super happy to have you here live or in the future. I know we don't make it. I've stopped asking this ridiculously redundant question. Thank you so much for pressing play and doing all the things. We've got such a great show today. We're going to be speaking to journalist Sophie Hurwitz later on, all about Canary mission, the Zionist organization that is doxing students and getting them disappeared for the crime of writing op-eds or just being at a protest or tweeting a thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about where Canary mission came from, their funding, maybe where they are headed. It is terrifying. So before that, don't worry, we're going to be talking about Eric Adams because, shot chaser type situation. Always got to keep it light with that guy. He is desperately trying to stay in this mayoral race. It is not over, okay, people. And Eric Adams, again, currently being extorted to serve the Trump administration, is trying to raise a lot of money real quick. And he's rolling out some insane things. Meanwhile, Zoran just keeps on trolling his trolls and just making us smile for no reason, except for he's got the most contagious smile. And it's incredible when people actually stick to their principles. So Olayemi Olurin is going to be here because, of course, Eric Adams is mentioned and Olay has to come out of the woodwork and give her opinion. And I have not talked to her since Mamdani crushed this mayoral primary. I'm really excited to get into that with her, as well as the files have been released, people. The MLK Jr. files have been released, and we'll talk about why. Why is that interesting or important, and what does the right want to do with them? So if you are here, make sure you are liking the stream. You're sharing it right now with all the people, letting them know what you get up to on a Tuesday. Or whenever you happen to be listening to this. If you're listening as a podcast, give this podcast 5 stars. It helps people discover it. And may I just do a little plug? Because as y'all know, ever since I started this show in 2020, in the deep doldrums of the pandemic, people were like, I miss Newsbroke. I miss Newsbroke. Where's Newsbroke? I like Newsbroke. And if you don't remember Newsbroke, it's basically deep dive video essays with jokes. The Sam B that survived, the John Oliver that never quite got to John Oliver's level, and very, very far from it. Well, guess what, good people? John Oliver is on break right now. And so Last Week Tonight is not putting out an episode, but instead, Francesca and team, Brent and Paige, put out a massive 25-minute video breaking down all the things that went wrong / by design in the Texas floods that killed 135 people and counting. Dozens more are missing. People have been left on their own. And so I break down from top to bottom, from Trump to Kristi Noem to FEMA, all the way down to the camp's director of Camp Mystic, where 27 children died. Actually, if you didn't know this, the cabins that had the youngest kids were the closest to the river. I break down every single angle of this failure and ultimately ask the question, when can we start blaming red state voters? When can we start blaming these deep red counties for voting against their interests every damn time? And look, guys, I'm retraining y'all. I'm retraining people who might be listening, but I need those clicks. I need those eyeballs. I need, you to give it a lot of love. Just imagine it says breaking, drama, Francesca drags Jank over blank, or breaking, Piers Morgan gets dragged by Francesca. Just imagine it has all the keywords, and I need you to go watch it and click on it and support this long form, because if you miss Newsbroke, you gotta, you gotta watch. You gotta watch this new stuff, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes on all the platforms by going to patreon.com/bitchuationroom. That's how you do it. $5 a month, $10 a month gets you that shout out during the fart song. Thank you guys so much for everyone who's become a patron in the last little bit, who likes this new direction. So head there, support me. You can also become a member on YouTube. $5 a month there. You get early access. Patrons and members get early access, but only patrons get extra discounts on our adorable union-made, Francesca doesn't push it enough and has openly lost money on merchandise. Bitchuationroom.com. That's another way to support the show. You get 20% off if you are a patron. You also get $5 off of our Houston show. God, there's just so many announcements. Houston show on August 28th. Matt and I are going to be at the Houston Punchline. But before that, Laughs Comedy. Guys, Seattle, August 1st. This show is almost sold out. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's almost sold out over there in the U District. But on Saturday night, we'll be doing a live Bitchuation Room with Ijoma Oluo, as well as just confirmed, is she the Zoran of Seattle? Katie Wilson, who is a co-founder of the Transit Riders Union, is going to be joining us, as well as comedian Derek Sheen. It's just going to be such a good night. So get your tickets wherever you're watching or listening to this. Come see me live, in the flesh, in the decaying flesh. Thank you guys so much for supporting. And with that, let me bring her in. She's a movement lawyer, a writer, a creator based in Brooklyn. You can watch her and follow her work at Olurinati on YouTube and Substack. And she's got 2 shows, Olay and Friends, which premieres Sunday at 1, and Olay and Chill, which premieres Tuesday at 1. Please welcome Olayemi Olurin.
Hey, sis. What's up?
Good to see you. I feel like you're in a new background where you're showing off.
Oh, this is the library in my house.
Oh, just a library in my house. I got a shelf.
This has honestly been like my project. I love it. Like it looks fancy and nice because I went out of my way to do it like this. Like you can't see it, but it's like all behind me. And I put up like my my grandmother's full like portrait.
Those
and my
are
dad
amazing.
And CJ's grandparents. It was CJ's grandfather Pop-Up's idea. He called and he said to me that basically with all the book banning and whatnot, it makes sense to buy all of the books that they're banning and all of the books by like the Black authors that we would want to have and would want our children to have. And he's like, start a library. And he even came and he like spent like $600 of his own money, like putting books towards the library. So I said, oh, I'm going to do exactly what you said.
That's
I will execute
so
the vision. So that the whole thing, I'm getting like a custom plaque, like, when you walk by the historic buildings,
Sure.
and I'm naming it after Pop-Up as the library. I'm putting it there. So this was like to Pop-Up.
That's so sweet. That's amazing. If you're listening, it's just a beautiful library and it makes Olay. Are you a published author?
Not yet.
No, I was like, because like, you're missing the one book that's flipped around. That's like,
I know, right? I'm in a couple books, but I haven't published a book, but I'm in that. That's how I used to have Defund by Calvin John Smiley, Defund Conversations Towards Abolition over there. I'm in that one.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah.
Olay, we start the show off sometimes in a little bit of a stank way, but asking all of our guests, what are you bitching about today? Tuesday, July 22nd, dead of summer. What's up?
So would you believe that I'm actually not bitching that much? I'm like, I thought about this. I saw your question. I was like, what are we bitching about? And I was like, my birthday's on Sunday. Everything in my life is good. I don't really have too much to be mad about. But yesterday is more like of a serious thing. But Malcolm Jamal Warner passed like tragically.
Oh my God.
Was on vacation in Costa Rica with his wife and his daughter, went swimming, a riptide current like took him and he passed. And then people started, Malcolm Jamal Warner was one of the stars of the Cosby Show back in the day. He used to date Myra, the actress who played Myra in Family Matters. And she tragically died early in life. She got cancer and she died in her 20s in like 1996 or 1998. But they dated then. Mm-hmm. And people present yesterday were making posts like, well, I'm just glad he's reunited with her. He is a present day wife and child. He was on vacation with his wife and child. And they're like, oh my God, I'm just glad he's reunited. I was like,
their fanfic is like, stronger than anything. They're like,
imagine. I was like, y'all don't piss me the fuck off. That poor lady. Like,
no,
so
I was so stunned. And I immediately was like, because I went to Costa Rica once, like 3 years ago before the kid was born. And like Matt loves to go in the ocean and we were on the Caribbean side. So we were looking up because Matt went in, he was like, yeah, but at some point it got kind of weird. Like when waves are kind of disorganized, when they're a little bit like, they're a little like messy. If there's a way to describe waves when they're messy and you're just like, let me just go back. I don't go that far into the ocean usually unless it's super calm. Matt, like, he's a big guy. He likes to kind of battle it out. But even he was like, no, I'm coming back in if this feels unsafe. It was on the Caribbean side. It was like Playa Cocles. It was
the ocean
really
does not play. As somebody who grew up on the islands, like this is something people don't understand. I say this all the time.
Yeah.
The ocean does not give a fuck how well you swim. Like this idea that you can be a great swimmer. Like my great uncle died. Like professional level swimmer died in the ocean. It gives no F's. I have a cousin who current caught him on like his senior graduation trip, and he ended up paralyzed for the rest of his days. If you've been in the ocean and lived in the ocean, you know what it's hitting for. Like, so I think people need to, especially now that it's gotten so much worse with the result of like global warming and like climate change. Like when I was growing up in the Bahamas, I always knew what the water was hitting for because the different beaches was a different scene. Like, imagine you can see Bahamian waters, you can crystal clear, you could see everything clear as day, but you'll put on goggles and all of a sudden see a million fish that you couldn't see. And that's when I knew that the ocean didn't mess around. And so I already had that and all those experiences throughout life of knowing the water. And then in recent years, now you see the waves, like the shore erosion is so significant. The waves are so much more intense, so much more extreme. Like, well, what we are doing to the earth is, an impromptu climate rant, but that is the result. The ocean is very dangerous, and it has nothing to do with how well anybody swims or knows the water or loves the ocean or any of that.
No. I mean, I was reading an article about it and they were like trying to compare, like they were basically like in a not roundabout way saying, even if you were Michael Phelps, you would have died in this rip current. Like that's how strong they can be.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, yes, RIP. So sad. He was like 52, so young.
Yeah.
Just like such a loss. And then Cosby comes out and I'm like, nobody needs to hear from you. Nobody needs to hear from you.
And that's the thing. Somebody called him. They know what they're doing. The media knows what they're doing.
I know. You're like, just give this man a few more days of peace before you come out and give your opinion.
Right.
Olay, so much has happened this week, but we have a new segment to place all of the horrible things of the week, and I'm call it Orange Man Bad.
Oh, it's so cute. It has a cute little graphic.
I know. There's one toilet that's not well placed. It's in front of the flower. The point is this. This week in Orange Man Bad, since the DOJ said that there are no Epstein files and Epstein killed himself, Orange Man has been trying to use anything to distract from his ties to Epstein. In the last week, he demanded the Washington Commanders change their name back to the Washington Redskins. He posted an AI video of Obama being arrested in the Oval Office while he watched on, right? And he demanded or threatened to strip Rosie O'Donnell of her citizenship, calling her a threat to humanity. Just amazing. Like, what is he going to do next? Declare koosh balls a weapon of mass destruction? That's for the OG O'Donnell heads. He's like throwing everything out there. This is the human equivalent of a squid inking to save its life.
Relentless political theater.
Yes.
That's all it is.
It is. But on the same theme, the Wall Street Journal on Friday released a birthday card, or I think it was Thursday night, for his, that was a 50th birthday card from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein, that featured this sort of imagined conversation between Trump and Epstein that was written inside of an outline of a naked woman and ended with the line, "May every day be another wonderful secret." And I don't know about you, Olay, but here's the thing about secrets. Don't fucking write it down. Don't write them down. If you and I were involved in something that heinous, don't even say it. Don't say secret. Say thing.
It is so hard for me, Francesca, to give a damn about any Donald Trump political theater. I just feel like now, almost 10 years, since 2016, I am constantly being lambasted over the head with some long, drawn-out thing around Donald Trump that will change nothing in the end. I'm like, oh, I've been through impeachments, I've been through criminal trials, I've been through assassination hoaxes, I've been through 3 campaigns, I've been through so much, and none of it changes the fact that the man is somehow yet again in office, running an authoritarian regime, stripping us of all of our rights and just everything. And then every time I look, he's like, you want to focus on some political theater right quick? Because my thing is, at the end of the day, I'm not saying Epstein isn't important or anything, or that people shouldn't care or anything like that. I've never been personally interested, but that doesn't mean it's not important or that people shouldn't care. It just doesn't move me because I believe that Donald Trump has done everything bad. Anything bad you say that Donald Trump has done, I believe you. Anything bad you say is associated with, I believe you. But I also just think that at the end of the day, the Republicans say this, they do these song and dances where they pretend for a moment like they have some particular value. They love to do that, where they suddenly act like, wait, I swear it's not just a cult. We care about this one thing for real. And then they kick up a little dust and then be like, I'm very sorry. We're back in line. Let's get back to stripping everybody and I'm right.
Straighten the hair. Exactly. No, well, that is why we've created this segment, to put all the insanity in one place and then be done with it. And with that, there is more, because Trump is now suing the Wall Street Journal, much like he sued CBS and got $16 million, which is money that might have gone to Stephen Colbert and The Late Show, which has now been canceled by CBS. Now, was it political retaliation for Colbert covering that settlement? Was it financial? It's a little of column A, a little of column B. It's a huge thing to lose one of the biggest late night shows. We are very much headed to a world where writers are going to be busking monologue jokes on the subway, and AI is going to relaunch The Late Show with a Chad-faced bot named Zeb. And like, Zeb's going to kind of crush. And people are going to be like, is Zeb single? And you're like, Zeb doesn't have genitalia. But no more Epstein talk, all right? Let's move on. Orange Man has chronic venous insufficiency, Olay. They are small blood clots in your legs that can give you the feeling of heaviness when you walk. Almost
as if makeup stuff he has going on?
Yeah, exactly. They tried to put it over his hand. And like, it's that feeling of heaviness. They say it feels like the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein is hanging onto your ankles with the chains of eternal damnation, like your own Jacob Marley, not Bob Marley.
Will it kill him?
I mean, slowly. Here's my question. How do you have that many? And like, shout out to people who are dealing with this, because it exists. But how are you going to have that many blood clots? And can any of them make their way to your fucking heart already? Can they make their way to your head?
Wicked people live long. Like, that is a fact. My great aunt told me that one time. Like, I remember my great aunt told me that as a kid. She was like, listen now, we were in the parking lot somewhere.
You're like 5 and she's like,
I remember it so vividly because she told me that wicked people live long. So please know that she got outlived my Grammy. And you know what? She did outlive my Grammy. She's alive today. So I'm like, I think about that all the time. Like,
wait, is she wicked or
she identifies as wicked? Yeah, she is. That's exactly what I'm saying. So,
that is amazing.
I'm like, I always know evil people can live long. I knew when Donald Trump survived COVID, remember when he came out with that thing, like, anyway, he couldn't breathe, like he was dying to breathe, trying to hold the cough with the COVID. When he survived that, I said, okay, he's got a pact with the devil. He's going to make it. His white supremacy is going to live long.
You know, I've been chasing that high of how I felt watching him like heave and try to breathe that day. Like, the diagnosis of COVID, like, I don't think I've been happier. And let me just say, like, I've had a baby since that time. So even then, I was not as happy as that day. That day was magical. And lastly, I'm sorry, but Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, is shutting down the House for summer early in order to avoid any votes on the release of, Epstein files, in order to protect the victims, he said. Oh, no, not the victims of Epstein, the victims of anyone who was friends with Epstein in the Epstein files, of course. And that is Orange Man bad. And we ride it out.
I love this little jingle.
Thank you. I feel like we should be selling things. In fact, we do have to sell things. And I'm going to remove you and I'll bring you right back, Olay. But I have to let the good people know about Sunset Lake CBD.com, which is a sponsor, that's the word, of this show. And I want to let you guys know that Sunset Lake has vape cartridges. And they are dope, okay? They've got all different kinds of CBD vape flavors and like sativa indica, but it's, again, all CBD. like the Super Lemon Haze, which is a smooth and effective way to experience the benefits of full spectrum CBD in minutes. Whether you need to turn down the volume on a day or a stress-free way to unwind after work, the vape cart has you covered. By the way, if you don't know, a vape cart is like a little pod filled with hemp extract, and you can screw it into a 520 threaded battery. That all comes with the package. You can also plug it in to your USB. That's how you charge it. Press the button, inhale, CBD, boom. So sunsetlakecbd.com, get 20% off your entire order with coupon code FRANTIFA, FRANTIFA. And thank you so much to the awesome Sunset Lake CBD for being such a wonderful sponsor of this show. And let's bring her back in because there's news. This week, Olay, DOJ has released the files, and no, not the Epstein files, the MLK Jr. files. Now, this was always a promise of Trump's when he was running for president, was like, declassify all the files. Here's a fun little snippet I think we've all seen. All the files except one.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others.
What an odd thing to say.
Now there's a lot of phony stuff in there. All the other ones, the files need to, but with the Epstein files, there's phony stuff.
Less so. And interestingly, with the news that the DOJ released 230,000 files, which let's put a pin in that, related to MLK Jr.'s assassination. This is what Bernice King, who is his daughter, who runs the King Center, she tweeted, now do the Epstein files, a photo of MLK just kind of giving side eye. And Bernice King and the family has said, please treat the documents that have been released with respect, and honor his legacy in all of them. As we know, he was killed on April 14th, 1968 in a Memphis hotel by a white man named James Earl Ray, who died in prison in 98. This has been investigated 3 times. All 3 times show that Ray acted alone. And it doesn't seem like Bernice or the other family members. There's one estranged family member who took a picture with Pam Bondi the other day, and it was like, they don't claim her. It doesn't seem like they think there was foul play, or that the FBI, despite the FBI urging King to kill himself for many years before he was assassinated through all kinds of, harassment campaigns, it doesn't seem like the family thinks there was foul play, or meaning that they were involved other than this, James Earl Ray. The thing is, though, Olay, there's a reason they're trying to release these MLK files, which is that in them, part of the intel that was gathered on the civil rights movement and MLK Jr. is an indictment of his character, specifically when it comes to infidelity and the fact that he, he cheated on his wife. They just got released, so a lot of people are like, everyone's still combing through it. But what's interesting to note is that the right for a very long time has been trying to basically find a way to undermine MLK Jr. and his character, and therefore undermine the Civil Rights Act, the Civil Rights Movement, and do what they've been trying to do for decades now, which is roll the whole thing back. Feel free to jump in anywhere, but I did just want to give you case in point. Some people who've been on this train very strongly are folks like Charlie Kirk, who last year, during MLK Jr. Day says things like this.
Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act?
This.
But I can say declaratively, this guy is not worthy of a national holiday. He is not worthy of godlike status. In fact, I think it's really harmful.
I honestly, I just cannot begin to express how much I don't care about white supremacy political theory. Because we know they're white supremacists. We know they're racist. We know that they hate Black people. We know that they hate civil rights. We know that they hate equality. They are actively every single day doing that in real time and dismantling it. Their desire to outrageous or upset us by like going after a historical figure that they hated while he was alive, and that hate is why he is dead. It doesn't move me none, nil, zilch, which is why it doesn't move Bernice King. That's why our answer is because that's all it is. All it is a distraction to say, hey, go look over here on this like nonsense while we do over this, so that you're distracted. And honestly, for me, I guess the question I have is, let's say the Epstein files were out and they confirmed everything that we know and think, that Trump is involved. Trump is all of the things. He is a sex trafficker. He's messing with young girls. He's doing all the things. Do we think that if we knew that unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, the people who voted for him wouldn't have voted for him?
No, of course not.
And that right there, because that's the answer, I don't give a fuck. It's like, all right.
No, exactly. Well, to me, what's interesting is, of course, it's a distraction, but I do think that like, it's weird to try to find a rationale for your racism, and going after Dr. King's legacy is just like,
that's what they've always done.
They've done it for so long, but of course, because they think that his legacy is untouchable and he's unimpeachable, or he's treated like a god, which he's not. It's just like, let's.
All of that is bad faith. Republicans don't say anything that they believe. Republicans know good and well. They know that MLK is the one whose legacy they've tried to like sanitize and make seem like liberal and like they like him. He's the one that they, for the last however long, they've been like, oh yeah, MLK, because they try to like bastardize what he said to mean this other thing. They do the same thing with Frederick Douglass. Like, this is an old playbook.
Wonderful man.
Yeah, they switch it up constantly. And the thing about racism has always been about offering justifications for why, right? Like, it was, we were uncivilized, we needed civilization, we needed religion, we were brutes, we were wild, we were this, we're too ghetto, we dressed like this. There have been a million different iterations. That's what a stereotype is. It's a justification after the fact. There have been a million different reasons for why white supremacists have advanced this idea that they are doing the rest of us a favor, that we need to be beat into submission, that we are inherently inferior, that we are less smart, that we are genetically this. I've heard white people say we the cursed people of Ham, all kind of justification. So none of that is new to me. It's like,
but it's not, obviously it's not for you, Olay, right? Like, this is for the white people who maybe voted for Obama, right? This is for their racist white audience, but who aren't really ready to take the like racist pledge yet. Like, they're like on the precipice, and they need some dumb red meat shit like, oh, MLK Jr. cheated on his wife, to say like, yeah, that's why we should undo the civil rights movement, and you can discriminate against people based on the color of their skin and prevent them from the ballot box, as if they're not already doing that. I mean, that's what's so funny is like the Voting Rights Act, which also, again, the civil rights movement helped pass, was gutted by the Supreme Court. What year was that? 2018, 2019? One of the last things that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, protested against, I guess, but Charlie Kirk last year, deification of MLK and his pro-DEI ideology marks the exact moment that the progress of Black America goes sideways. This is my favorite because they always try to, put on Black America what's good for it. Their cities disintegrate, their families collapse, educational progress stagnates, they become enormously dependent on government support, crime explodes, and 25% of Black men are incarcerated by age 25. You will know the tree by its fruit.
Here's my thing is, Republicans, the right are dumb. They're dumb people. That is statistically a fact. They're stupid. They're less educated. They're dumb. They're a dumb collective of people. At the very least, however you feel about between liberals and moderates and centrists and the left and the real right or whatever, that entire elf of people are significantly less dumb than the right. And I say that to mean there is nothing. MLK is a cheater is a old rumor. That's an old rumor. They ain't said shit new, and no one gives a fuck. Nobody who voted for Obama or who in any way buys into the idea of racial equality is thinking, oh, Black and white people should be equal. Unless, of course, that one Black guy that said that cheated on his wife. I just
maybe MLK was on the Epstein flight. You don't know. He's been hiding. He was never assassinated.
Right. People wouldn't give a fuck if Obama has a set. I was just thinking, listen, Obama got a 700-page book right now that everybody in them might probably have on the shelf and hasn't read. And in the book, Obama telling you whether or not he was really fucking with Michelle like that, his real life. No one gives a fuck. We're not going to stop loving Obama. Nobody he's trying to appeal to gives a goddamn. That's what I'm saying.
Well, what's crazy is like, I think the real question is, wait a minute, the FBI was keeping 230,000 pages of information about MLK Jr. Like, what really?
This must be an I'm Black thing, because all of this is like everybody that is even remotely civil rights. Did you say something about equality one time and you're Black? They have a file. That is a well-known.
Exactly.
Has a great ass podcast. What is it called? Like look up Chenjerai. Chenjerai has a great podcast where he talks about like the history of NYPD and whatnot. And he talks about, he starts it off by telling the story about seeing this image of his father, realizing his father had been being surveilled by the FBI because of his like civil rights work. I say this to say, I feel like this is one of those things. It's like certain things that people assume like Black people are conspiratorial about, but these are just like historical facts, like, oh, you know, cracking, like the CIA put cracks in the community, and those are actual things that happen, but it sounds conspiratorial to people. Maybe this is just a moment for other people to get this, for you to tell people, Francesca, that they have all these files. Because I'm like,
no, what I'm saying is like, it's so, what I'm saying is, it is, I think any moment for people to understand just how much the Poor People's Campaign was seen as a threat. And again, maybe it's for white liberals, really, you know, to really understand that, like, yeah, we shouldn't sanitize the legacy of MLK Jr., that he was being surveilled because his platform and ideology that was, especially towards the end, anti-war, anti-capitalist, and for, you know, broad equality, economic equality, in addition to racial justice and racial equality, that was seen as a threat. And so it's, what I mean is, like, the right doesn't get like, yo, man, they were just surveilling him. They were trying to get him to kill himself. Like the FBI was, there are hella plants all over him. You know what I mean? Don't you think that that's a little bit of like a deep state, you know, working on all cylinders here? But no, it's because he's a Black man, and he's a Black man who stood up for Black equality. Then he might have been an adulterer. What I'm thinking is like, where's the fucking letter in there that's like, you know, FBI secretly hired James Earl Ray, you know, to, you know, gave him the gun or whatever. That's not there. It's been investigated. But anyway, it's just, yes, you're right. It's a
first of all,
we've all known this.
The US government. I think I will say this. I don't think any Black family or descendants of Black civil rights leaders that have been killed, not publicly, you know, saying that the US government is responsible, to me is not a reflection of their belief that they're not involved. It's just a fact of what is going to come from it. There's no justice that you're going to get from the killers. If justice, by what we think of it, is getting it from the government that the government is not going to punish itself. That is never going to happen. So there's no reason. And I think people who have had their loved ones like assassinated understand better than anybody else what happens when you are seen as speaking up or as a threat to the establishment. So they have no reason to say that. I also don't, like I said, I don't think none of these files are ever going to be about rendering the United States government responsible for the things that they've done. Like, and that's why they're giving it to you. But anyway, I don't trust anything they give us.
Yeah, I mean, and also T- whatever it is, like 60 days before MLK Jr.'s birthday is no longer a holiday. That will happen. There will be a rollback of the Civil Rights Act. Again, it is happening tacitly, illegally. In part, you see the DOE being obliterated, where so much discrimination against people of color happens in this country is through the educational system. Also, disabled folks, like, that's all going away. So yeah, they're just trying to pave the ideological ground for it. Let's move on, because Eric Adams, sadly, is staying in the race, damn it. He decided to bow out of the Democratic primary. And Olay, I don't know if I got your thoughts on that maneuver and that move to just completely circumvent and run as an independent in the general. What were your thoughts on that?
I told everybody it was going to happen. I told everybody Eric Adams was going to do that. I told everybody that Cuomo was going to be the real threat in the race. I told everybody that Cuomo was going to stay in the race after Zoran beat him in the primary. Nothing that is happening is surprising me, other than Zoran clobbering Cuomo the way that he did. That is the only thing. That was my wish but I was not my expectation. But everything else I expected.
See, that's why you're smiling. Like ultimately, like every New Yorker deep down is like Zoran won and handily. I mean, like, what were the stats about like him winning by like double or triple or quadruple? However, like the percentage that Eric Adams won in, you know,
the stats are that Zoran whooped his ass. He whooped everybody. Yep, he whooped Cuomo's ass in that race.
He whooped Cuomo's ass. He whooped Eric Adams' ass when the Democratic Party was like, Eric Adams is the future. After 7 rounds of voting, barely squeaked out a victory.
It's sickening.
Now Eric Adams, and of course, the only way to raise quick money for the general is through cryptocurrency. And that is exactly what is happening. There's a new cryptocurrency super PAC. Again, the most terrifying phrase in the English language. And he's going to try to raise $10 million. And also rolling out shit like this, new security initiatives with none other than the Citizen app.
We're launching our public safety account through the Citizen app to provide New Yorkers with real-time public safety information. This account will work to communicate with more than 3 million of these users on Citizen app throughout the 5 boroughs, similar to other social media channels that we use, but it's faster, more accurate, and it gets timely information to residents.
Okay, I have so many thoughts, but Olay, once again, this hyper focus on crime, on safety, on what I would call an app that is straight up vigilantism.
1000%. Eric Adams is just such a silly, unserious man, and I'm just counting down the days till he is out of office. Literally,
what are you gonna do? Do you have you need a party? I will fly to New York to fucking party for this.
Honestly, I feel like I did my part. Honestly, Eric Adams not being viable for a second administration in and of itself, to me, feels like job well done. I did what I needed to do regardless of anything else. Because a few years ago, when I was talking to a lot of other people who are on the ground doing that kind of work in New York City, the perspective was that it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to have a second term, that no one had gotten in early enough, that the amount of money X, Y, Z, that was the case. So honestly, just the fact that Eric Adams' popularity has plummeted to the bottom, like 3 years ago, I would have had to care about some stupid shit like that. I would have to explain like to people why that's problematic. Eric Adams has no more credibility. Everybody knows that if it came out of Eric Adams' mouth, it's a bunch of bullshit. So I'm like, beautiful, love it.
What's the vibe like in New York? I mean, we know this week like ICE is ramping up raids. I mean, LA out here, we've been like fully occupied. I mean, it's just a straight up war on people. But like, you know, if there's one thing New Yorkers have, for better or worse, there's a certain amount of pride about not being, you know, under somebody else's thumb. And yet, you know, Eric Adams is straight up under the thumb, being actively and openly extorted by the Trump administration in search of a pardon for the bribery charges and the crimes that he did commit with, you know, the government of Turkey and more. And so it's just like,
you see how we all know that? Honestly, I think I see it 4 years ago, right? When Eric Adams came into office, Eric Adams was despicable out the gate and no one knew it. It was like pulling teeth to tell people like, listen to me. This guy is the fucking worst. You see how you know that now? When I was telling everybody when I first sat in the Breakfast Club interview, like, this man, like they're hemming him, like, or this man is there investigating him. He is corrupt. He is a criminal.
Yes.
Like, you sure? Like, I'm like, I'm sure. Now we all know. You see how matter of fact we said that? And the whole chat is like, yes, he is a criminal. Like, I do know that.
No, I mean, because he was, you know what it was? It's that he was failing on so many other levels that when you did your Breakfast Club interview, which everyone, if you have not seen, Olay, completely just destroy the amount of destruction. Fuck these Jubilee debates. Go and watch Olay and the poor Eric Adams on the Breakfast Club. Like point number like 15 that you made was the fact that he was you know, suffering bribery charges, that like he, you know, his staff was throwing away phones and like that was like way beyond. And what you did so brilliantly, and I think what really is important, is that Eric Adams the bribery charge is just like, look, that is well within his personality. That just fits with the like old guard corrupt ass shit that I think Zoran has laid out and talked about. But really, it was this cover of neoliberal, tough on crime bullshit, austerity programs.
Would be a compliment to Eric Adams. Like honestly, we can't even do poor neoliberals and liberals like that because Eric Adams thinks liberals are criminals. Like we need to understand Eric Adams is like Eric Adams. I need to understand how we dealing with Eric Adams became mayor and declared that the Democratic Socialists of America were his number one enemy. Don't fuck with liberals at all. Eric Adams is a right wing, like he's firmly on the right. He's not even one of those examples of when like someone is a Democrat establishment dem or something, and you're like, oh, yeah, and you point out the ways in which they have like right wing, views here and there. No. Eric Adams is right wing. He was a card carrying Republican until he realized it was his best interest politically to switch to the Democrats. And notice how he realized, oh, the Democrats are not fucking with me. The jig is up. You're on to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and run.
Now I'm a Republican.
Exactly.
As an independent.
Yeah, he's never been a Democrat. Like he's not even a bullshit Democrat.
I mean, what I meant by neoliberal is like economically, right? Which is austerity, more cops on the streets to police your, economic policies of inequality, no affordability, like that. But yes, you're absolutely. He's a fucking Republican. Tell me just before you go, like thoughts on Zoran. Obviously, like it's funny every time I want to like preemptively. Look, I thought Hillary was going to win. These are apples and oranges in terms of how I would have felt. But like, I hired a mariachi band to play the day that Donald Trump was going to lose the 2016 election. So I know very well, do not count your chickens before they hatch. But just give me your thoughts on Zoran's run, what he's proven, and maybe your thoughts on like, him as mayor.
I'm a big, the way I feel, I was saying this to CJ earlier. I don't think anybody's qualified to tell Zoran anything. Like, I just want to say that. Like, when people, oh, come on, what do you think he should do with his campaign? I don't think that I or anyone else is qualified to tell him to do anything because he's run he's done something that we haven't seen before. No one else has done it. So who's going to tell him? Like a year ago, I didn't think Zoran had any chance in hell. I wouldn't have thought, I would never have thought he would, beat Cuomo, let alone wash him. Like, I don't think we understand just how significant what he's pulled off is, regardless of what happens in the overall general election. But I do think he's going to win. But I think regardless, who am I to tell you to say you should do a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of this? Because I wouldn't have told you to do what you've done, and look how successful you've been. So yeah, I think he knows what he's doing. I think he obviously has an excellent team around him. I think he taps in to a lot of different resources and platforms. I think the man is doing what he needs to do. Like, no one can do everything perfect. Nobody can be all of the things, everything. But that man's running a damn good campaign. Yeah. And I think as far as mayors, no one is ever going to be. It's our job to criticize our politicians, our elected officials. And by criticize, I don't mean like just hate on them unnecessarily. Unless they're a piece of shit like Eric Adams, then we must hate. But I mean by criticize, I mean like, you know what I mean?
Wow, you already went back on your rule.
Right. Healthy critical analysis, right? And I think that that's going to happen, and that's going to have to happen. And the reality is, he's one elected official. He's not going to be able to do just everything unilaterally. We're going to see a lot of different politics play out. Maybe we're going to have things that we don't be happy about, things that we are happy about. But I know that if Zoran can do the bare minimum of his promises, that is way fucking better than anybody I've had to deal with in New York City politics as our man. So I will be grateful. Okay. If you come in and you give us zilch, I will be happy with that. Like, okay. All right.
Do no harm.
Yes. Like, and I've talked to him. I interviewed him. I talked about him extensively. I expressed like what my concerns are. And I feel very confident that he understands the things that matter to like, not just like his voters and his constituents, but even like the broader leftist like sentiment to like, and he understands that it isn't sufficient to just close Rikers. I need you to also decarcerate and engage in these different kinds of resources for New Yorkers and poor and everyday New Yorkers caught up in the criminal system. So to me, he gets it. I like him. I'm a fan. He impressed me.
That's good. And I do think, if he does win, I think we are going to have to, again, defend him without, like a savior complex, but defend him because what he will try to do, and this is every single time, and this is across the board, is whenever there is money that is moved into actual public safety or money that is taxed to the rich in order to develop programs, or to, decriminalize things, drugs and whatnot. Like, if they're not immediately successful in 6 months, these people get dragged to shit. These people get called like, criminal enablers. There will be massive propaganda working against him.
Absolutely. And I deeply hope we don't eat ourselves in this regard. Like, I'm not somebody who like buys into the whole the left always eats itself. We do sometimes, but not always, but sometimes. But I do think we do have to be careful to do that, because I think that's something the Chicago mayor has like experienced a lot of, because the right is always going to be campaigning against it. So there needs to be some kind of, opposition. We always have to be like, critique within reason, but we always have to have some swell of support there, because if it appears like everybody's against them, that's when you get what they do to like Chase Boudin and different, you know what I mean? Like they smell blood in the water and they go for them.
What's happening to Michelle Wu in Boston and Brandon Johnson in Chicago? I just know that, like council members like Tiffany Caban, who I believe is still in, I interviewed her years ago, and it's just like the fact that if Zoran became mayor, the council members, it's like you can really push some legislation that it can be transformative, truly transformative. So I'm excited. I don't want to get too excited, but Olay, you're wonderful. Where can people find you, follow your work?
You can subscribe to any or all of my channels in the Olurinati verse. I have my main channel, Olurinati. I have Olurinati Pop. I have Olurinati Bites, Olurinati Politics, Olay and Friends, and Olay and Chill. So you can't miss content from me. Yeah, I work hard. Okay, I've got an immigrant's work ethic.
Seriously, Olay Bites, is that one of them? I think I missed
Olurinati Bites. It's like my shorter takes, my shorter
Olurinati Bites. Oh, like little.
Yeah, you get it.
Snackable content, as they say. God.
You get it.
Thank you so much for being on. Always love having you.
Of course.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Sorry, Paige. And guys, a little bit later, as the title implies, I am going to talk about AOC and that vote on the defense appropriations bill. So stay tuned as I have a little solo sesh. But first, let me welcome reporting fellow at Grist and Instick, writing about the defense industry and climate. They've also written for Mother Jones and The Nation, all about politics, social movements, especially around the genocide in Gaza. Sophie Hurwitz.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for being here. Sophie, remember how we were like talk really close to your mic? Can you be a little bit farther?
I can. Okay, wait.
No,
farther. Farther?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're great. Perfect.
Amazing.
Sophie, you have this new, I think when did this piece come out about Canary mission?
It came out early this month, July 8th.
So you have this, July piece about Canary mission, which is effectively a doxing operation and a blacklist for anyone, specifically people on university campuses who would speak out for Palestine. But explain, because a lot of folks have heard of Canary Mission, but explain who they are and why they have been so dangerous in the last 6 months since Trump came to office.
Sure. So I like to describe them as an anonymous gossip blog. You're right. They are a blacklisting website, but functionally that's what it is. It's like, hey, I heard a rumor this sophomore was at this pro-Palestine march and maybe they chanted something about an intifada. And so what they say they're about is to, quote, prevent today's radicals from becoming tomorrow's employees, which means scaring critics of Israel into silence because they're afraid for their jobs. They're afraid they might get doxxed. They might get harassed on the internet. People might email their employer and say, hey, did you know this person was seen wearing a keffiyeh? It's been around since 2014 or so. It lists a few thousand people, mostly university affiliates, so professors, students, sort of an IMDb style website. And everybody on the website is being accused of being anti-Semitic. A few of the people on there
are on there. Sorry, just how many people?
I had an exact number in my article. It's not in my head right now, but it's like several thousand at this point.
Yeah.
And a few of them are actual Nazis. Most of them are random college sophomores who think that Israel should stop bombing Gaza, which I think most reasonable people would consider to be wildly different categories. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so for the better part of a decade now, they've been functioning as a blacklist, functioning as a non-governmental tactic for scaring people into silence. But very recently, we learned that the Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. government, is in fact paying quite a lot of attention to Canary Mission.
Yeah, tell me about Rumeza Osterk. We know this is the graduate student who was disappeared by ICE. What is the connection between her case and Canary Mission?
Sure. So Rumeza Osterk, she co-wrote an op-ed for the Tufts Daily student newspaper about a year before she was detained. That op-ed was asking the Tufts administration essentially to take a divestment resolution seriously, to divest from Israeli companies. And then about 2 months before she was detained, a Canary Mission profile goes up that says that she had engaged in anti-Israel activity. The one piece of evidence on that profile that she had engaged in anti-Israel activity was this op-ed that she co-wrote with a couple other students. And then she was a little bit nervous. She talked to some of her friends. She said, hey, I'm worried about this profile. I'm worried about what this could mean. But then she was snatched off the street by DHS agents. And her lawyers, who I spoke to, were not able to find a single reason that she was detained other than that Canary Mission profile.
Jesus.
And then shortly after she was detained, Canary Mission itself posted online, essentially taking credit. And then, third thing, a DHS memo was released that was justifying her detention, and the wording in that memo was near identical to her Canary Mission profile. So several different signs pointed to the United States government treating an anonymous gossip blog as a legitimate reason to detain students.
Yep. So, and Canary Mission took credit for Rumeza's disappearance, correct?
Yes.
You say that. And so they were like proud of the fact that this profile that they created about her on their IMDb gossip website then informed DHS, and then DHS's rationale for detention, you're saying just sounded like something that Canary Mission would write.
Yes.
It's fucking insane. Now, they also, because I remember there was also an organization that was like adding Marco Rubio when it came to the detention of Mahmoud Khalil.
Yes.
Was that Canary Mission, or was that Stop Anti-Semitism?
So that was Beitar, I believe, or Stop Anti-Semitism. I think it's important here to note that there is a whole constellation of these doxing organizations made up of people who are online too much. And Beitar is one of them. Stop Anti-Semitism is another. They have, I believe, both at various points claimed that they have some sort of in with various U.S. government officials. And will do things like, at a politician and be like, hey guys, look at this one, go get this one.
Yo, seriously though, seriously. And they're open, like they're not afraid to say that that's what they're doing, of course, because why would you? You've got the backing of the federal government. But it like really is terrifying. I mean, I guess I want to also name that like Beitar and StopAntisemitism.org are absolutely unhinged, in addition to Canary Mission. I mean, Beitar said after Zoran wins that they urge all Jews to immediately evacuate New York.
Yeah.
and then Stop Antisemitism.org wants to investigate Miss Rachel, the children's YouTube content creator.
And they're the reason she put out a statement that was like, guys, I am a children's YouTuber. I'm not sponsored by Hamas. Like,
right. But then what's so insidious about this is it really is about preventing, I mean, for a right-wing narrative about cancel culture, about something that you posted or said in your youth or in your college days, haunting you into the professional world and for the rest of your life. This is quite literally an outfit designed to do exactly that, but specifically on speech that they don't like, that the establishment, the administration, that pro-Israel Zionist entities, groups do not like. That is what this is doing. I mean, you can imagine like the corollary on the left, like which does not exist, would be, some mission to see, who who did something racist or had a bad Halloween costume or whatever it is, like something so silly and small, and then using that to follow them, which is already what like the right thinks that the left does, or that liberals do.
Absolutely.
And it really has, since October 7th of 2023, it's gone into overdrive because it had existed for so long. I remember when I was in school, in the early 2000s, like it was just beginning, these sort of registries of professors speaking out about Palestine. But since October 7th, 2023, really, like, people have lost job opportunity. I mean, not people,
absolutely.
Kids,
people
students
are experiencing real harm. Not as much harm as like the people in Gaza, of course, but I think that it is important to note that activists on American university campuses are absolutely experiencing material consequences for their speech. There was this one professor I talked to, Zachary Lockman out of NYU, who has been a target of these types of blacklists since the 80s. And he was telling me about these physical pamphlets that used to get distributed by organizations like the ADL and AIPAC. I actually tracked down a college guide of AIPAC's from 1984 that was listing, quote, campus enemies of Israel. A lot of it then, as now, was really racist, really xenophobic. I think it's important to say that, and there's no other real way to put it. The AIPAC pamphlet kept talking about, quote, foreign Arab students pushing hatred of Israel on American campuses. Presumably those students were mostly there to get their degrees, but I don't know. And anyways, I was chatting with him about all these different iterations of these blacklisting attempts, right? And what he said was that he thinks that Canary Mission, Stop Anti-Semitism, these groups in the Trump administration, they are getting something that they really wanted for a long time, which is to say a real listening ear with power beyond that of an employer that might deny an internship.
Sure. I mean, the power to detain people for months and months and months on end for an op-ed, for a demonstration. Let's just get to the heart of it, because I think this is the most interesting part of your Mother Jones investigation, was about who the fuck Canary Mission is, who funds them, who's behind it. They're largely anonymous, but you did trace a couple of foundations that had given money to them that sort of like, once exposed to the light kind of scurried away, and we're like, no. Could just tell us, how anonymous are they? What is their relationship to like being open with like who runs them, who funds them?
Sure. So I got into a lot of learning more about nonprofit law than I wanted to reporting this. I learned that it is neither registered as a for-profit or nonprofit entity in the US. Or there is an organization that several previous media reports basically classified as a shell organization for Canary Mission, that it is an Israeli registered nonprofit called Megamot Shalom, which translates to Peace Trends. That has been known for a few years and still seems to be the case. We know that there are several relatively high-profile family foundations and philanthropists that have been funding Canary Mission through Megamot Shalom. This is traceable through both American tax records and the Israeli nonprofit registry. The Helen Diller Family Foundation is probably the most well-known. I believe the Forward were the first people to report on that. And they said they weren't donating to Canary Mission anymore after that came out. Which I think is sort of interesting, right? That there are these relatively well-respected, like, philanthropic groups that will donate this kind of thing. And then once somebody's like, hey, what's that about? They're like, never mind. And yeah, so
I mean, it is like it's not even like lightweight Zionist. Like, it's not even like, oh, we're building understanding between Israelis and Palestinians, and we're not going to talk about the occupation. It is full on doxing campaign.
Yeah.
We get now we get people disappeared. Before we get people fired.
Yeah, absolutely. And so all of this means they don't have any known listed American employees. The man who is listed as running Megamot Shalom on the Israeli nonprofit registry is named Jonathan Jack Ian Bash. He is a British Jerusalem resident. There was another person identified as a board member of Megamot Shalom that we actually managed to get on the phone, named Rabbi Ben Packer, who used to be a campus rabbi in North Carolina, now runs a right-wing ideological hostel in the occupied territories.
Oh
and
my God.
Proudly claims to be friends with Stephen Miller, who is Trump's deportation policy boss. We got him on the phone, found his number on WhatsApp, and just kind of called him up. And he said he had never heard of Megamot Shalom, which does contradict his name being on their documents, whatever. And also was like, yeah, I am absolutely good friends with Stephen Miller. I'm proud of his work. I think he's a good American. He did deny affiliation with Canary Mission, but said they were doing good work. So it's this whole bizarre little web.
Right. And my favorite is you'd also document how they really think that their anonymity is important and they don't want to like say who they are. And it's like, oh, really? Yeah. Organization that doxes other people and makes sure that their employers or their families or their universities like know that they're like, oh, you want privacy? You want privacy. Yeah. And it reminds me, it's funny that what the rabbi said reminds me of her name is escaping me, but Biden's former anti-Semitism czar, like anti-Semitism, sort of a leader on anti-Semitism or global anti-Semitism like this, who openly made beeper jokes related to the, Israeli attack on, Hezbollah / citizens in Lebanon using beepers. But she also was asked for comment about the vast detention of student protesters. And she said, well, I basically to the same degree, like, I don't think it's necessarily legal, but I don't necessarily think it's like a terrible thing. Like you have to make sure, she basically said you have to go through legal procedures, but effectively silencing these folks is okay. That was fucking Biden's lady.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that any of this particularly originates with Trump. I think that a lot of it has certainly intensified under his administration, but I don't think that the doxing, harassment, and silencing of pro-Palestine students originated under Trump at all. That was stuff that Biden's administration allowed to happen, and in many cases tacitly or explicitly encouraged. So I think that when people talk about, oh, Trump's crackdown on free speech, it's like, well, you can't give the guy all the credit, like this is bipartisan.
I mean, it's very much just like immigration. I think Palestine is very much the loading of the gun being done by Biden and shooting it or continuing to shoot it being done by Trump. I don't think we would see ICE disappearing, obviously students, but you're absolutely right that like when you allow so much of this to fester or you equate anti-Semitism with speaking out against genocide, it's like this is the slippery slope. This is what happens. Anything else you want to add? I mean, because my big question for you, I guess my last one is, where does Canary Mission go from here? Because it seems like I mean, I know Doge was like a random creation, but Canary Mission feels like it is very much being folded into DHS, like that this could continue and or get even more robust in terms of naming people, doxing them, detaining them, deporting them.
So I can't predict the future. Here are some of the things that I know. I know that Canary Mission is absolutely being used by the Department of Homeland Security to interrogate people at the border, to find people that they might consider deportable. I think that there are also legal organizations planning to push back against this, looking into class action lawsuits. So that's something I'm going to be following, whether that is able to achieve much or not. I think that it's entirely feasible that the administration could just sort of keep going in this direction. I also think, though, that among the American people at large, it's becoming more and more common knowledge that this is not a serious website. And I think that matters as well. In that, I was actually put on Canary Mission in college, and at that time, nobody had heard of it. And when they looked at it online, it looked quite legitimate, right? Mostly because their web design is pretty nice. They look like a serious website. And so you have to kind of like look deeper and learn more about what they're doing in order to be like, yeah, wait, no, this is not like an organization that is an unbiased purveyor of truths about radical students. And so I think that public opinion around Canary Mission is shifting in a direction of treating the site with the minimal level of legitimacy that it deserves. However, I think that things governmentally are going the other way, which is worrying.
Yeah. I mean, I think to the specific thing that you do, which is in media and covering this, it really is on. I mean, you've got the New York Times just a couple months ago doing a whole, an article on Miss Rachel, and then very uncritically citing stopantisemitism.org as if it were some sort of, I mean, sadly, even the ADL is a very unserious place to actually talk about anti-Semitism because of the way that it conflates it with anti-Zionism. And so I think what you're doing is brilliant, and that's what's important, is to be like, these guys are absolute clowns. No one should be citing them, and hopefully going forward, other outlets don't try to cite, Canary Mission or otherwise. And, Mahmoud Khalil, $20 million lawsuit against the Trump administration for his detention. So we will see. This is like every day learning I didn't even talk about it, but like the new conditions, reports about conditions of detention in Florida, reports about the way the Venezuelans were treated in Sickot, who've now been freed. Like, you're like, the number of like high crimes and like human rights violation, lawsuits that are coming at this administration. I fucking hope we live to see the day where some of the folks who've done this actually suffer the consequences. That's just me. That's not on you. You keep reporting. Sophie Hurwitz, where can people find your work and follow you?
I am online, lots of places. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Twitter if people still use that. I haven't quit for some reason. And yeah, I am.
It's
all
just
over the
journalists
internet.
and comics who stay there. Thank you so much.
It's sad. It's like a little echo chamber now, but that, and then like there will be like the most racist man you've ever seen in the corner yelling.
Just shouting epithets. Thank you so much, Sophie. You're awesome. Appreciate you stopping by and explaining it. And thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna dig into the last thing because I have to address it. And I could do a little short bite, as Olay calls it, but I just wanted to talk about what I'm bitching about. Before I do, A Wright says, I want to mention something you said earlier. Kind of do want to say that the King family actually don't think Ray is responsible and suspect Earl Clark of the Memphis PD as the killer, although I may be wrong. What's interesting is they didn't use this as an opportunity to talk about that. So maybe they do, or maybe some of the family members do. But I am curious. Like, I do want to know. I mean, look, if it was investigated 3 times, like, I think it's interesting. I also think that like the accessibility of guns and having a white nationalist or a racist assassinating someone is sadly not news in this country. But then again, King was a massive threat to so many people, and they needed him gone. They being the establishment, I mean, they being people who were afraid of him and his power. Arguably at the top of his game, right? Arguably, again, starting to like I said earlier, really mix the struggles, really start talking about the Vietnam War, really start talking about economic justice and moving more in a socialist direction. So, but yeah, thank you for that. Let's see. Richard Walker says, we know all these things, so all the files will do is confirm. It's why we never trust the cops. Gary Cooper says, every time something dishonest is going on, cryptocurrency is there. Robert says, Trump is responsible for everything bad. The last time you were in the pool and hit that warm spot, yep, that was Donald Trump. It was definitely Donald Trump. Let's see. Vetras Varna says, saw an unmarked black pickup style Humvee with a bunch of masked up long rifle goons in the back, laughing and yucking it up. No patches, badges, plates, en route to a Latino neighborhood in Rochester, New York. The Gestapo is here. Holy shit, Vetras. Number one, thank you for that super chat. And to say that, but that is terrifying, and that's exactly what people are seeing and experiencing all over this country. Rachel Atwood says, I'm married to Zeb, FYI. I hope you're actually... Zeb is not a terrible person. Zeb, yeah, sometimes you don't want somebody with... you want someone with just plastic down there. I am going to be coming to Houston, Robert G. Thank you, John Farrell. Love the merch. I use a tote bag for grocery shopping. People enjoy the wordplay. I love that you use a tote bag. Okay. All right. Let's see. Pendulous Dragon, Olay and Franny Fio have died, and have I died and went to heaven? Yes. Let's see. All right, let me get into this last little bit because I think it's really important. Last Friday, the House passed the Department of Defense Appropriations Act to the tune of $831.5 billion. It mostly fell along partisan lines. Republicans squeaked it out in advance of their massive recess. Again, they're not going to be back in office until September because they don't want to vote on the Epstein files. Most Democrats voted against this massive appropriations defense spending bill. But it did, again, 221 to 209. 3 Republicans opposed it. 5 Democrats joined the GOP. 2 interesting tidbits. One of the people who opposed it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, and one of the people who also opposed it was Richie Torres. And Richie Torres, you'd imagine, is like all gung-ho about military aid and military spending, even if and when it includes spending for Israel, which it always does. And this defense appropriations bill was no different. The biggest news, of course, is that within the defense appropriations discussion, there was an amendment that was introduced by worst person you know who's making a good point, Marjorie Greene.
Would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. And it's important to phrase it that way. Israel is a nuclear-armed nation, which is very capable of defending themselves, and they have been proving that so as we've watched on the world stage. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion, that's a lot of money. Additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel. That is nuclear-armed Israel. And during the recent 12-day war, the U.S. used 15 to 20% of our terminal high-altitude area defense missiles stockpiles defending nuclear-armed Israel, which cost us over $800 million. The $500 million provided in this bill will fund Israel's, that is nuclear-armed Israel's, missile defense system, the Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow system. Yet Israel is a nuclear-armed nation. That's a pretty big deterrent for any of their enemies. Any nation that has a nuclear bomb has the greatest threat against their enemies. U.S. aid typically accounts for 15 to 20% of Israel's defense budget, even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment to strike $500 million in foreign aid will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need, and we haven't had for a very long time.
Okay. I let her cook a little to really, sink into this. Could she say nuclear-armed Israel one more time? Nuclear-armed Israel. She made sure to hit that point. She's kind of like, she's kind of biting off the old Dave Smith libertarian apple here when Dave Smith pointed out on Piers Morgan that, yes, Israel has nukes. Now, what's funny is that Marjorie Greene is sort of implying that why don't they just use nukes? Or nukes should be enough of a threat and a deterrence. And specifically, again, this was an amendment to eliminate the $500 million for the Iron Dome, which is a missile defense system that the United States props up. It's a missile defense system the United States pays for and supports every single year. I think it either included in the $3.8 billion annually or separate from it. But it's a vote that has actually been a litmus test around where, specifically for progressives, on where you stand when it vis-a-vis U.S. military aid for Israel. I want to name a couple things about this speech and this amendment. Number one, notice how she didn't say Palestinians who are dropping dead as we speak, starving to death, who are truly like, it feels like a final stage of this just endless ethnic cleansing and genocide. I don't want to say that because I do think we have to fucking rise the fuck up the way we did under Biden. But I know that the space and the room to really resist feels a lot smaller. But I just want to name how dire things are. Notice she doesn't actually talk about that because she doesn't care. This is someone who doesn't really care about Palestinians. This is someone who is an open Islamophobe. She's an open racist. She's talked about Sharia law taking over. That is not her angle. The unspoken angle might actually be that she's an anti-Semite deep down, Jewish space lasers, etc. But the substance of what she's saying kind of rings true, right? Why do we need to give Israel more money? Let's stop giving Israel so much money. They don't need this. We already give them $3.8 billion a year. We don't even have healthcare here. I mean, you've got this sort of like vague socialist for dumbasses, line in there. You got the like, oh, baby, it's almost working. It's almost happening. Now, this amendment was put forward in this defense bill, and it did not pass, resoundingly did not pass. But notably, a few Democrats actually voted for it. One Republican only, Thomas Massey, again, the only Republican, also to vote against the massive spending bill / tax break / Medicaid crusher of a big fugly bill, but also Representatives Rashida Tlaib, Representative Ilhan Omar, Representative Summer Lee, and Representative Al Green, a man who wants to impeach Donald Trump on the basis of Gaza, like over his Gaza policies, a man who stood up and shouted and chanted down Donald Trump to his fucking face while, Trump was speaking at the State of the Union or whatever, so-called State of the Union. But here you have, 4 Democrats joining, Marjorie Greene to say no more money to Israel in this time of genocide, in this time of starvation. And yet it is significant that AOC was not one of those people. And granted, AOC, of course, did vote against the larger defense appropriations bill in and of itself. So by no stretch of the imagination would this be a vote that would actually have legs or go anywhere. It's very much a symbolic vote. But that symbolism matters. I want to say that symbolic vote matters, even and when the person who's introducing it might be as distasteful and awful as Marjorie Greene. I think there is a way to vote for this amendment to say, hell no, no more money to Israel. Not in this time, not against international law, not when they're systematically starving people, not when they are in violation of however many international laws, not when there are arrest warrants out for Benjamin Netanyahu. Absolutely not. And also say, that being said, I do not support where this person is coming from. And I think they're bad faith and totally sus. But I will work together with this person if they're serious about taking money away from a genocidal state. That is not what AOC did. In fact, she wrote this on Twitter. She said, Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment does nothing to cut off offensive aid to Israel, nor end the flow of U.S. munitions being used in Gaza. Of course, I voted against it. What it does do is cut off defensive Iron Dome capacities while allowing the actual bombs killing Palestinians to continue. I have long stated I do not believe that adding to the death count of innocent victims to this war is constructive to its end. That is a simple and clear difference of opinion that has long been established. I remain focused on cutting the flow of U.S. munitions that are being used to perpetuate the genocide in Gaza. So I understand in part what she's saying, right? She's saying, look, the missile defense system is already there. It's been shooting down, missiles that have come from Iran. Let's be honest, though. Iran, Lebanon, Syria, countries that have been attacked by Israel, they don't have this missile defense system. Are they entitled to a missile defense system? Should we be funding a missile defense system for those countries if we believe in peace and ending the death of innocent civilians, which Israel has contributed to? You see what I'm saying? Secondly, she's doing the thing that Joe Biden did, which was trying to distinguish between offensive weapons and defensive weapons, as if they could be distinguished. I mean, Israel's entire genocide is premised on the idea that it is defensive. Not that it is offensive. They are defending their right to exist. That's why they have to starve and maim and destroy refugee camps with children sleeping in them. That is their position. So effectively, you're echoing their position, hook, line, and sinker, and the propaganda worked on you. The liberal Zionists, whomever they are, who are in AOC's ear, likely J Street, who are convincing them that yes, the occupation is bad, but you can't get rid of aid to Israel and they need to defend itself. And Israel has the right to defend itself. Sure, but with its own money. Sure, but let them do it on their own. I mean, this is just sort of an exercise for me in cowardice. And the reason I say cowardice is because Summer Lee stuck her neck out. Summer Lee's been in office for one term. Summer Lee just won her second election, but she is a far more vulnerable candidate. She does not raise the kind of money that AOC raises. She does not sit comfortably and safely from AIPAC, who has absolutely tried to take her down. You've got obviously Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, who ever since being elected have been in the crosshairs of all kinds of hatred, Islamophobic attacks, have been singled out over and over again by Marjorie Greene herself. And they voted for it. Because again, and I'm reminded of sometimes the votes that Bernie Sanders has taken and bills that he sponsored along with Rand Paul. Because when there is something very concrete to achieve, that they're seeing this as a strategic move, right? Even if the strategy is simply being symbolic. Now, I want to name that this is very different than inviting Marjorie Greene on your show and glazing her up and down and going on Charlie Kirk and glazing him up and down and saying, why can't we just work together? Why can't we just have a beer? No. There's real legislation on the table. There's real actual things that could be happening. Yes, it's symbolic, but these are real legislators. So don't mistake me for, there is a way to say, I vote for this, but I do not endorse who is actually introducing this amendment, right? I see this as a tool. I don't support hook, line, and sinker everything that this person has said. No, I don't think we need to break bread and come together, but I will take this vote because we need to stop by any means necessary what is happening in Gaza right now. And it's really disappointing. And secondly, the fact that people like me and others have criticized her has caused AOC to follow up with things like this. Google is free. If you're saying I voted for military funding, you're lying. Receipts attached. Drag me for my positions all you want, but lying about them doesn't make you part of the left. If you believe neo-Nazis are welcome and operating in good faith, you can have them. I don't know what to say about this. Nobody thinks you voted for the bill. We all know you voted for against the broader defense appropriations bill, just like most Democrats voted against the defense appropriations bill. Again, even Richie Torres voted against the defense appropriations bill. What we're saying is, why didn't you stand with your progressive colleagues on this issue and at least try in some symbolic way to take money away from Israel? But we now know that it's money that you think is for so-called defensive weapons, which is, again, a massively dangerous and Zionist position. To my girl Angelica C's26 on Twitch saying, why would AOC fuck up like this? She was moving up. And that is my feeling exactly. It really pains me because I do think that AOC could be the future of the Democratic Party. And that could is very much dependent on how unflinching she can stand for Palestinian human rights. And the one thing that we can do, pretty much the only thing in our power to do, we cannot de-radicalize the citizens of Israel. We cannot, de-radicalize Hamas. We cannot do that. We can withdraw our money. It's the one thing we can do is stop funding it. It's the one thing our legislators, it is the lowest. It is the fucking bar is so low. It is the lowest bar. And so if you cannot clear that hurdle, you cannot clear a Democratic nomination or a groundswell movement to fight oligarchy, right? You have not established yourself as being anti-establishment. You continue to gaslight people. And I say that I would never say that someone is like beyond repair or reproach or that they can't go back. But I'm not going to be saying like, she's a Zionist. Fuck that. Should give up on her. No, man. But I'm scared. I'm worried. You know what I mean? I'm worried. And I don't feel as maybe I once did that she will be the future of the Democratic Party because of this kind of waffling and because sadly, who has maybe gotten into her ear about this kind of stuff guys, every day there's a human rights violation happening. I mean, come on now. You got to study the issue. You got to learn more. You got to listen more. Why don't you just fucking read the news? Why don't you just open your fucking Instagram? Why don't you see the death and destruction? You don't need a degree in nothing. This is not a left or right issue. And that is why I do think it's important to actually even symbolically vote, but hopefully symbolically working towards an actual concrete and strategic vote to get U.S. funding out of the Israeli military. And those are my thoughts about that. And thank you guys so much for being here. Let's see. Daniel Sanchez, thank you for your super chat. 2 Israeli startup entrepreneurs played roles in the rise of AOC. Are we going to ignore this? Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it a little bit more. I have more digging. I mean, we know that like she openly rejected AIPAC to their face many times. But there are, again, other soft Zionists and liberal Zionists who I think she's, we know she took that anti-Semitism vote that effectively conflated anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. And that was a terrible vote. And whatever game she thinks she's playing, meaning if she thinks this is the way to clinch either a Senate nom or a presidential nom, it's not going to be the way. It's not going to be the way. Yeah, Rachel Atwood says she's worried that Schumer will use it against her. I mean, is anyone worried that history is going to make Schumer look fucking good? Whatever Schumer could use against you, just bring a mirror to the debate. Just bring a fucking mirror and be like, cool, bro. Remember how you did absolutely nothing to stop fascism and you rolled over for Donald Trump? Remember how he played you like a fucking fiddle? JCast, next Jubilee, Francesca versus 20 Piers Morgans. I would love that. They've asked me to do the show and I have absolutely refused, especially because they don't pay well. I have to get paid. And it's just too much of it's a ridiculous torture ritual. And also like why? I don't want to be that depressed. And Omega Star, thank you so much for being a member for a year. Chris Corcoran says, I don't think AOC's tweet endorsed the Iron Dome, but said that the amendment didn't go far enough to stop weapons. She should have voted yes, but she didn't vote against the main bill of funding Israel. She did vote against, yes, yeah. Yeah, I think she could have been more explicit with that language if she wanted to thread the needle. What she didn't work, sadly. And Rachel Atwood reminding us that Michael Brooks passed 5 years ago. Yes, let's pour one out for him. Such a bright light, and we miss him every day. Tony Barbosa, hey people, can you talk with your president? Not F with mine. Kidding. Leave Brazil alone. Oh my God, the Brazil tariffs. Isn't an orange juice company suing y'all or suing us? Y'all meaning us. I'm on Brazil's side, obviously. The y'all is the US. And thank you guys so much. Let's do the fart song and thank all the people who are patrons. Thank you for supporting the long form video. You guys know it takes a fuck ton of work on my part. And so truly becoming a patron is a way to support me. And I thank you kindly with the fart song. With Prime, Holy Beer Dragon gave out 5 community subs. Woohoo! Holy Beer Dragon, hey Frantifa, what's good? Appreciate you. Let's go over to the other page. Thank you to Vince Rogers, to Charlie Ung, to Cindy Schwartz, to Carol Hammer, to Sean, and to John. Thank you so much to Tracy Ava, always upgrading. Tracy, you're too kind. Thank you to some tippers who tipped the show. TBR-Live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App, David Hanley and Warren K. You're the realest. Thank you so much to Vitingale, to Omega Star, and everyone who's become a member. Brodius, Odysseus gave us a super sticker. Hey, thank you for that. You're sweet. And thank you so much to Paige Oamek, to Max who will not leave my brain, to Brent Godin, who's been crushing it on these edits, to Andy Vasoyan. We're streaming Tuesdays 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're not going to have a show next week, y'all. We will be taking the week off before in advent of our big Seattle show, but the Seattle show will be available on audio. I'm hoping to set up some kind of video. It is not going to be live streamed, but we will have another long form video between now and then, and a bunch of other dumb shit from me. Don't you fret, and I'll see you on Wednesday. We're doing a Wednesday show, August 6th. All right, and fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, free Palestine. Don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Later.